So let's dive straight into the DXY. We had a very interesting week again last week with tariff announcements in China, so which caused a sell-off in the stock market. And we had on Monday the huge gap in all the yen pairs. So basically the first hour of market opening, after market opening, made all the yen pair forecasts obsolete because of the election in Japan. So yeah, fairly interesting. So we will see what we get this week in these turbulent times, but overall fairly interesting price action next week. Here on the DXY on the daily time frame, we can see we actually finished this overall a slightly more steeper 1, 2, 3 structure into this previous liquidity area here to the left. We closed all the gaps and price did enough actually for the DXY to sell off further. However, we have to be a bit careful fundamentally. If the overall sentiment of risk off remains, then we might see a recovery in the dollar. So we have here on the 4-hour time frame fairly nice areas to work with. We have here a potential base, and if we see price breaking below the base followed by continuation, then we know we will see a dollar weakness over the next few days or weeks. If we see this base hold on the other hand and we see a reaction from this base to the upside, then we might have to pivot and look for dollar strength in the other dollar related pairs. Moving on to Euro US dollar. In that case, again, we have a nice basis and clear levels to work with here on the daily time frame. Again, we did basically everything we needed for a potential turnaround. We tapped this previous low here to the left and we had then a fairly nice reversal candle. Not a very strong one. So looking on the lower time frame here on the 1-hour time frame, actually, we can see here we have levels to work with. This could be a potential V-shape recovery here. We just tapped this previous high here to the left and breaking back in for the next leg to the downside, which would then indicate the DXY to basically recover and continue to the upside. So it could also mean that we see here a potential start of a middle section for a bigger bearish continuation on this low here to the left, which would then mean that we see euro, or it just takes a bit more time for price or for the market to decide in what direction we go. And however, if we see a break above this area here to the left, which would then basically breaking back into this whole price action here to the left, then and we see a bullish continuation, then we will pivot and go for Euro US dollar longs. New Zealand dollar US dollar is a bit clearer here on the weekly time frame. We can see we are here a bit in no man's land here to the left. We don't have much to consider to the previous low, and we had a very strong bearish weekly closure. On the 4-hour time frame, we can also see here, it's basically the same, just go back here, you can see it's really just one big move, one big area we can work with, and we are trading below these previous two lows here to the left. I want to see a bit more development in price, so preferably a structured bear flag continuation, retesting these lows here to the left for then a short continuation. US dollar Swiss francs, again, we pivot here as well on the daily time frame. We can see we had this actually on watch for quite some time, and we were looking for the bullish continuations. I even took some trades in here, and now we can see we finished a potential steeper 1, 2, 3 flag into this previous area here to the left, and we had a very strong bearish reversal, engulfing reversal candle with a strong close. Actually, it's a strong daily sentiment change basically. And on the 4-hour time frame, we can see here as well, I want to see a bit more development for a continuation pattern. We are positioned fairly well. We have here this running channel which then broke out to the upside, tapped this previous high, and we are trading through the start of this running channel. So the positioning is good. We'd like to see a bit more development and a proper bear flag continuation to enter a short in this area. US dollar yen on the daily time frame, again, it's a bit, these yen pairs are conflicting. They might need a bit more time for the next directional move. Just looking plain at this price action, we have this 1, 2, 3 structure. We broke this highs here, this area of interest, and we had a very strong bearish candle on Friday, a bearish close. We are now on the daily time frame. We can see, of course, it would make sense to just plainly look for a short, but we have to consider the long as well. We are still trading just around the previous high to the left, and we can also just easily see a turnaround and a slightly larger bull flag continuation. So then we know, of course, we are still in for further yen weakness. And however, if we see a continuation here, preferably just a slight break below, a bit further down below this previous low here to the left, followed by a bearish continuation, then of course we look to enter shorts. Euro Canadian, that's a very, very interesting one. Looking here on the daily time frame, I took a trade here actually. We were also looking overall, the bias still remains long. We were looking at that a few times, but last week we saw very nice clean price action for a short to close the gap to this previous low here to the left. We had here a nice expanding structure with the gap to close here on the 1 hour time frame. I took this entry actually, and now we can see we have here a failed short continuation. Price reacted slightly above the high, above the low, and then pushed very, very aggressively back up. And now I'm looking to play this failed short structure. So I'd like to see a bit more development here, preferably a 2-touch, retesting this failed structure, something like that to enter a long continuation. Euro New Zealand dollar is very similar overall. If you're just looking here on the weekly, on the positioning, we are positioned for, it's actually kind of a bullish squeeze, and we still have room here to potential higher levels here to the left. And we clearly failed to sell the week before. So this is a strong bullish close. On the 4-hour time frame, we can see we have here a 1, 2, 3 structure into this previous high to the left, but it's a underdeveloped structure. There's no clear middle section, and with this very, very impulsive finishing run into the high, I'm leaning more towards a long continuation. I'm looking here at least for a 1 hour more developed structure for a long continuation. We have here a very, very, very weak liquidity area here on the 15 minutes. So you can see it's only visible on the 15 minutes. So we have to be a bit careful on the 1 hour. There's like basically nothing. So that's why we want to see a slightly more structured flag here to continue to the upside. Euro yen, another yen, all the yen pairs might need a bit more time, so it's a bit conflicting. On the weekly time frame, we can see we had a very nice washout candle here on the high. It's still bullish, so we have to be careful. This is clearly conflicting price action. It's a nice washout candle positioned for a potential start for a sell-off. But overall, with the uncertainty in the yen, and we are still above the previous high here to the left, this can also just easily turn around as fast and then just develop a slightly more structured bull flag continuation. And however, if we see on Monday a break back below, preferably below this previous high here to the left, just a slight continuation and then a lower time frame bearish continuation, we can play that at least to these previous lows here to the left to close the gap. So that would be more than enough room to enter a trade here and to manage it to these lows here to the left. And if it's the trade which starts a longer bear run, then even better. Australian dollar Canadian, on the daily time frame, we had that on watch as well for a while. We were looking for bullish continuations in this area, and we had this larger bull flag continuation on watch, and we now actually finish this larger structure. We had this as a potential first base. The gap here, we closed the gap or almost closed the gap, but again with the very, very impulsive last move into the low, which is then we have to be careful and we have to wait for very clear price action confirmation. So if we see a slight break below, a break back in, and then followed by a lower time frame bull flag continuation, the overall sentiment of Australian dollar Canadian long would still be in place. But we really need at least a strong 4-hour follow through here before we then might enter a long trade because of this impulsive nature of the last leg. We can also see here, we have here a slightly corrective price action here towards the end. And if we see price stalling on the low and we see price accumulating more volume and forming something like that, that would then clearly show that price has no intention to turn around and is just accumulating more volume here. And basically that would be a failed bull flag, and we might then enter, or we change bias and enter a short. Pound Australian dollar on the daily time frame. Again, we had this strong reaction on the area here. We had here a running channel which broke to the upside, which gave us a clear base. Then we had these gaps here, and price was a bit corrective all the time. And you see price got more and more and more corrective, and then finally tapped the low here and cleaned out everything. We even here had another corrective channel into this low, which then broke impulsively to the upside with this very strong bullish reversal candle on Friday and a very strong close. So I'm looking here for the 1-hour time frame to show some more structured bull flag continuation, just through the start of the running channel to then enter a long continuation. And New Zealand dollar Canadian is positioned fairly well on the weekly time frame. We see here as well, we have a clear goal, a low here to the left. We are a bit in no man's land here, and we had a very, very strong bearish weekly close last week. And here on the 4-hour time frame, actually on the daily, this is interesting price action. We have to be a bit careful. We broke this initial low here first, but we wicked to the low, not through the low. And you can see here then we had on Thursday and Friday, we closed or actually filled the wick. And we are now just slightly above this previous low here and filled the wick. So we need, again, a structured flag. We are positioned for a short continuation, but we had, again, a fairly nice impulsive move. And we are now looking for price to stall a bit in this area and form a clear structured bear flag continuation to then enter a short. So that's my watch list for next week. See you next week. Bye-bye.